Going on, Jerome's beautiful Sunday. Birds are chirping and stuff, and it's time for another Vikings news dump. And Vikings had another padded practice yesterday, off today before the famous and famoso night practice. Hopefully at TCO Stadium tonight, weather permitting. They might have to move it inside. Who knows, man? But some of the highlights from yesterday's practice: Will Reichard won the kicking battle. John Parker Romo, kind of bitter. Happens, man. But Reichard, the FBS all-time leading scorer, this man went 6 for 6. Warriors Sports Illustrated, good from 33, 42, 46, 48, 53, 58, including a 58-yarder, had room to spare. Probably would have been good from 65, 67 yards. No big deal. And also, it wasn't like a long-distance, low-trajectory kick. Like, that thing just had arc. I mean, yeah, the pass rush was certainly subdued, and if it truly was a 65-yard kick, the other team probably would have come after it. But, I mean, the kid's got a leg. He's definitely kicked in high-pressure situations. Yeah, he's had some high-profile misses before, like that Tennessee game. But, I mean, you kicked for Nick Saban. Nick Saban has pretty high standards, and Nick Saban has had bad history with kickers. That's why he got you. All right, so hopefully he indeed solves the Vikings kicking issues. And I just, what would it be like where you don't have to worry about the kicking position? Yes, you pay a premium, but that's okay. Paying a premium so that you can sleep at night. Just imagine. I can only imagine. Can't wait, man. Also, I can't wait on the Darnold and Justin friggin' Jefferson connection. So that thing is definitely heating up. Now, with JJ out during voluntary OTAs, but obviously they're during mandatory minicamp, got paid. It's fantastic. But, I mean, Jefferson and Darnold, like, they haven't worked together before, and them getting on the same page is going to be very important for the Vikings passing game moving forward, if indeed Darnold does hold on to the starting job all season. And you know, obviously Sam Darnold's not a dummy. Like, he understands that his best way to put on some good tape, win some games, put up some stats, and get paid is just throwing the ball to 18. And Jefferson has proved that he is quarterback agnostic. Put up numbers with Nick Mullins, put up numbers with Kirk Cousins. He certainly will be able to put up numbers with Slinging Sam Darnold and or J.J. McCarthy. But, I mean, their connection is certainly heating up. Had some great chemistry on some deep balls in sessions yesterday, and I think that it's only going to keep getting better and better. And also, props to Sam Darnold. So we had talked about that Darnold had been really uneven throughout the first 7 practices at training camp, but Friday stepped up, was a nail driver. McCarthy struggled a little bit. And then Saturday had another great practice, so stringing together a nice little run here. So I think that he could and should hang on to the starting job, even though it looked like a pretty near-wrong thing there a couple days ago. But, props to Darnold for not collapsing in on himself like a dying star. It's good times. Yeah. Speaking of J.J. McCarthy definitely looked the part to a degree on Saturday as well. Got some run with the ones in red zone and overall did some more impressive things as O'Connell keeps putting more on his plate. As from Will Raggett's write-up Sports Illustrated yesterday. Later on in what was the Vikings' longest practice of camp thus far, McCarthy started to heat up again in 11-on-11 action with the second team. He rolled out to his right and delivered a fast ball to Jalen Speedy Naylor for a completion that showed how accurate the rookie can be on the move. Also, I believe it was a bobbled snap on that one, and it was a play that he checked into. So it's important to note. He hit Nick Muse for a big gain and then ran down the field and did a mid-air hip bump celebration with the tight end. Also, would have had another deep connection with Nick Muse under duress. Muse dropped it, though. But overall, Nick Muse has been looking pretty good. He found Brandon Powell in a crossing route that turned into 30 yards or so after the catch. Lastly, McCarthy wrapped up his nice day with a fastball to Trent Sherfield for a red zone touchdown. And definitely brings the fastball, but you're starting to see a little bit more touch, like that one to Powell that was underneath. That had to take a little bit of feathering, had to take a little bit of heat off of that thing, and that's something that he's been working on, and I feel like has gotten better throughout the duration. Some unfortunateness. So Jerry Tillery, Alec Lewis, the Athletic, Jerry Tillery went down for a few minutes. The car came out, but instead Tillery got on the golf cart. Didn't look good at all. He'd been taking reps with the ones in 5 tech looks at defensive tackle. Tillery, I believe they said it was an ankle, but yeah, the Vikings health-wise have not been great. Also, N'Keal Harry and I believe Gabriel Murphy got dinged up a little bit as well. But, I mean, that's what's going to happen when you have these physical pattern practices. It is a trade-off, and hopefully Tillery is going to be good to go. He had been working primarily with the starters and could be a contributor this year along the defensive line. When he went out, guys like Jonah Williams stepped in there, as well as Levi Drake Rodriguez got a little bit more run as well. Also, speaking of which, so 2 UDFAs and a 7th rounder walk into a bar. But, I mean, these guys, Gabriel Murphy on the outside, round the outside, as well as Levi Drake Rodriguez at defensive tackle, Dwight McCloughan at cornerback. I mean, these 3 guys could be significant contributors for the Vikings in a couple of seasons, and I think that all 3 are pretty much locks to make the 53. And Murphy's a lot of fun, man. Like, not gonna lie, of course we love the style that Diamond Dallas Turner brings, but I mean, Murphy is cut from a similar cloth. He's just a ball of energy. He's high football IQ. He's mature in his pass rush moves, can bring the speed, can bring the quickness, and also, I mean, he plays with good leverage too. And I think that he will get into that defensive edge rushing rotation sooner rather than later. I actually think that he may contribute early-ish, right? So even though you do have guys like AVG, Grenard, Turner, I think those are going to be your top 3. Patrick Jones second isn't going away, even though we tried to trade him the other day. But I do think that Murphy, who's been getting some reps with the ones, I do think that he does have an opportunity to really solidify himself moving forward. Also, Levi Drake Rodriguez, fantastic story, all heart, all hustle. Flores loves him. Flores met his family, and he understands where he gets that work ethic. And he is a guy that, you know, he's going to put that work in. He's going to play every single down like it's his last. Like every single down is the Battle of Thermopylae, which I love. But what's his ceiling? I mean, because it does remind you of John Randall, undersized defensive tackle from Texas A&I, Kingsville. But I mean, John Randall, like physically, was gifted despite him being undersized. But I think that LDR, maybe the John Randall comparisons are a little bit unfair, but I think that he certainly could write his own book moving forward, especially since the Vikings do need help along that defensive line, someone who can get their own pass rush. And then McCloughan, who his nickname apparently is Nudie, which I don't know, man. But McCloughan has had some really nice reps with the 2s and a little bit with the 1s. And with the Vikings definitely needing help at outside quarterback, I do think that he is going to have an opportunity to show up and show out. And of course, he went undrafted because he didn't check all the boxes in terms of testing numbers, but he was PFF's #1 graded cornerback at Arkansas last year. Durante Jones had some crossover with him at LSU. So overall, I think that these 3 guys are going to be really special for this defense in a couple seasons. And also, I do think that they make the 53, all 3 of them. Next. So someone put out this tweet. You ever wasted 3 years of your life with someone? Now, of course, these are like engagement farming tweets. It's like, oh, yes, I certainly have. But of course, us sports fans, we turn it into something else. So Rick Dennison. So came over with the Kubiak contingent and was O-line coach for 2 years, senior offensive advisor for a year. And the offensive line was just garbaggio during that time, man. It just straight up was not good. And also, this is the era of Dakota Dozier and Pat Elflein and Drew Samia, just like, hey, this is your job and you will never be replaced, even if you're bad. That was a bad message. That was a bad time, man. But yeah, 3 years was just not good. And I'm glad that we got back to your offensive line coach looking like an offensive lineman. Like Chris Cooper, looks like baby Matt Burke out there. Chris Cooper, of course, played offensive line with the Broncos, and ironically, like Dennison spent most of his career with the Broncos as well, except he was a linebacker. So Rick Dennison was a linebacker, then he was a special teams coach, and then all of a sudden, I was like, oh, Coach O-line. And obviously, I'm sure Rick Dennison knows more football in his like fingernail clippings than like 10 of me would ever know in his 57 lifetimes. Fully understand that. But again, I feel like the optics of it, no. Give me the old school former offensive lineman who can communicate and speak offensive lineese. That's what I want, man. So, very happy to have Chris Cooper in this situation. Also, wasting 3 years, Laura. Next. All right, so 33rd team put together this graphic. 21st century receiving yards per game leaders, minimum 30 games played. Now, Jefferson, as a right, Meow is the NFL's career yards per game leader at receiver at 98.3 yards per game. I think that will eventually bump up over 100. No big deal. But again, this is only 21st century, so no Jerry Rice system receiver, no Chris Carter, no whatever. But the top 5 here, so Calvin Johnson, Antonio Brown, Jamar Chase, and Julio Jones. Now, of course, the media can't talk about Justin Jefferson without bringing up Jamar Chase, so that's where we are. But also, I know that Julio's numbers have dipped because of his last couple of seasons where he was like with remember that Julio Jones with was with the Buccaneers. That's weird, right? Also with the Titans. Yeah. Also, isn't Tyreek Hill's yards per game kind of low? I mean, I was told that he's the number 1 player in the National Football League. How is his yards per game at 81.8? I don't know, man. But not enough is made. So Calvin Johnson was a bad dude. First team Hall of Famer, blah, 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 all that stuff. His career yards per game was 86.1. And it's not like he had jabronis throwing him the ball. Like, he had Stafford. Like, Stafford's pretty damn good, right? Even though they didn't win jack squat in Detroit. But Jefferson, his career yards per game is 12.2 yards more than first ballot Hall of Famer Calvin Johnson. Like, I feel like that gap doesn't get talked about enough, because if you look at like the gap between 2 and 10, Michael Thomas, the gap between 2 and 9 rather is like 6 yards. And Jefferson and Megatron's gap is 12.2. No big deal. Again, we're watching greatness and we almost become numb to it. Something I don't become numb to is, so the Jefferson and Addison relationship is kind of fun, where obviously they have good times together, but Jefferson knows that he's sort of Addison's big brother. Now, Jefferson didn't grow up as a big brother because he's the youngest of 3. But now, like, his role has completely shifted throughout his NFL career, where he was the little brother to Adam Thielen, and then he was peers with Thielen, and now he's the big brother. He's the mentor to the mentee, Jordan Addison. Right, and they had some nice moments. Jefferson posted on the gram. Addison reposted Jefferson, and then also posted the nice picture that the Vikings put up. Spend a little VC. I don't know, but the Vikings do have the best wide receiver duo in the league. I understand Tyreek. I understand Jalen Waddle. Fully understand that. But when you got Jefferson and Addison, if he gets his mind right and stays on the field, I think that he can be a 1A, 1B situation with Jefferson. I truly do. And especially long-term, with J.J. McCarthy. Again, just think about what this offense could and should be in the future. So J.J. McCarthy eventually will take over at quarterback, right? We'll figure it out, a running back, maybe Ty Chandler. That'd be kind of nice. Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson. Come on, baby. Christian Darrisaw. Let's go, man. I'm fired up. It's going to be good. Also good. So Erica Tamposi does content for the Rams. I think she used to be at NFL Network. I think she worked on the Around the NFL pod way back in the day. But every single day they've been putting out like random videos of her like in a tent because training camp. You get it? And she's randomly cooking random things every single day. And like the one yesterday was funny. So she was reheating spaghetti, and all the players are in on the bit, so which makes it actually pretty funny. So there was a good one. Like, some unnamed offensive lineman said, "Do we have any Italians on the team?" And of course they have Jimmy Garoppolo, who is literally like the most paisan Italian in NFL history. But it's fantastic. And Jimmy said no to spaghetti. Also, Stafford said no to Lady and the Tramp, which is kind of great. Again, is it reinventing the wheel? No. Is it funny? Yes. I love stuff like that. As someone who is not very innovative in my comedy. But that's it. Sunday, nailed it. Vikings news dump. Also creative in days of the week. There you go. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull production value.